we grow June strawberries, summer raspberries, blueberries, fall raspberries, and day-neutral strawberries.
Today's episode comes to you from Charlotte, Vermont, where we visit with Adam Hausman and Jessica Sanford of Adam's Berry Farm. Our visit today will be split into 2 episodes. The first one is a walking tour of his blueberry fields, the strawberry patches, and raspberry plantings. We step inside the high tunnels and look at the fruit in there, as well as the barn, which houses a kitchen, farm stand, and packing equipment. This visit had a bit of snow along the tree line, so if you hear a crunch while we're walking, that's why. The next episode will highlight how they got started farming and built their farm up over the last 20 years or so, and we get into the why they chose the farming practices that they did. I'm your host, Andy Chamberlain, and I take you behind the scenes with growers who share their strategy for achieving the triple bottom line of sustainability. These interviews unravel how they're building their businesses to balance success across people, profits, and our planet. Before we get started, I'd like to share a review left on Apple Podcasts. This states, "Glad to have stumbled on this podcast. Would love to have a chance to talk with and tour with the host someday at our farm. We're transitioning from a 400-acre wholesale produce farm to direct sales only at our farm store. Many things are proving to be very challenging, but this podcast is very useful. Thanks for all the great ideas and ways to improve. Thanks, Quebeca Farms, for the comment." If this show has impacted you, I'd love to hear it via email or publicly as a review in the podcast app. The Farmer's Share is supported by the Vermont Vegetable and Berry Growers Association and the Ag Engineering Program of the University of Vermont Extension. If you enjoy this show and want to help support its programming, you can make a one-time or reoccurring donation on our website by visiting thefarmershare.com/support.
Adam Hausman.
Jessica Sanford.
From Adam's Berry Farm. We're located in Charlotte, Vermont, in southern Chittenden County, just south of Burlington. And we have diverse markets from wholesale to pick your own to farmer's market to frozen to value added. Production-wise, we are sitting on 57 acres of conserved land through Vermont Land Trust with about 35 under production.
Let's see. I guess we'll start. Yeah, we'll start outside, and then if we can always poke in the barn on the way back. Yeah. Kind of show you. Well, obviously, it's February, and things are stashed away and stuffed and all of that. But yeah, I guess little background. This was. I first started walking this land in 2010, I guess, after one of the many floods down at the Intervale. It was fall of 2010, and I'd been paddling through raspberries again, and it's kind of like, what am I doing? I need to get out of here. And had reached out to a landowner that has a lot of land in the area, basically, and drove around with him one day, and he brought me to all these different properties, and then from there, kind of, was like, okay, this could maybe work, and so started walking this land that winter, and I would come out and ski, and just tried to just. I had the luxury of getting to know the land over a long period.
That's an awesome opportunity.
Yeah, it is. And then 2011, we kind of engaged with the Vermont Land Trust and the Farmland Access Program. And 2011, leased the land to start cover cropping it. And we hadn't purchased it at that point, but everything was going in that direction, and I was willing to take the risk. And we didn't cover crop all of it, but we did a good chunk. And cover cropped it that summer of 2011, and then Irene happened that year, and it was kind of like a good affirmation of like, okay, I'm going in the right direction, as far as getting, to higher ground. So it's very much a reactionary property. It's up high. It's like drains, it flows.
That was a key factor.
It was, I'm never going to flood here. Yes, exactly.
If we flood here, we're done.
Yeah. If we flood here, there's greater issues. Is what I always say. the whole process of working with the land trust and conservation and landowners, it takes time, and so it was almost from start to end, it was about a 2-year process, really, to get there, and so we didn't close until the end of 2012.
In 2013, we were here and at the Intervale, so doing 2 properties.
Split, which is not recommended at all. Most of everything. I mean, we moved. We dug a huge chunk of blueberries out. What wasn't we'd lost in Hurricane Irene, we'd lost all of our raspberries and all of our strawberries, and so that was easy. We didn't have to think about them in some ways. Yeah, I was like, okay. But blueberries, we still had a healthy chunk. We had lost kind of there was a northern swale that we had on our property at the Intervale that washed out a bunch. But from there, we actually dug and relocated our farm here, more or less. So. So that was 2013. So now we're, I guess, 11 years as of it's now.
Yeah.
So
now I feel like just in the past 2 years, we've started to feel settled. I'm like, okay, things are in place. Like we know what we're doing. We know the land.
Yeah, it's home.
It's home.
Better be the forever farm. As I said, I wouldn't have, if I had known what I was getting into moving a farm, I wouldn't have done it.
You kind of had to, though.
Yeah. I mean, you had to. Yeah, exactly. There wasn't a choice. So let's walk around.
Fact, people I've heard several times, you don't feel like the flywheel's spinning till like you're 7.
Yeah.
7 or 10. It's like it takes that long to really.
Yeah, I remember.
Turn in a profit and like have your systems in, your infrastructure built, and
I think for us, we didn't realize. I mean, you realize, but being at the Intervale, how much was infrastructure-wise was taken care of for you. And there's a land manager, like things like that. You didn't have to think about a road. You didn't have to think about
if
pumps,
the walk-in
irrigation
cooler
system.
broke, you didn't have to deal with it.
And so it was the relationship was very clear, and also it freed up a lot of time to focus on your business and kind of the growth of your business and your plants and all of that. Where, now after, having moved and, reestablished here, I'm not sure I would have made it as a young grower if I wasn't down at the Intervale. As far as especially with the investment in perennials and the time frame that it takes to reestablish the perennials, it truly gave me kind of a grace period to get myself established to have the plantings come into production. So this side of the field, kind of this eastern side here, is basically the plants that we moved here. So that's we moved, just shy of, I guess, 5,000 plants. Whoa. So it was something.
We were very ambitious. We're like, we're gonna just dig out the plants and then we'll dig the holes.
Just hand digging?
Just hand dig. But that's not what happened.
No,
we
did not happen at all.
Slowly realized after 3 plants, whoa, we're gonna need some help.
Some young plants that we dug by hand.
Yeah.
And when we moved here and we're starting to put them in, we had farmers come and be like, whoa, you guys, 1, you are crazy, and 2, you need help. So someone came and volunteered their time to dig holes with their backhoe, and then someone brought over people to help plant them all, a crew.
One scoop with the backhoe.
Yeah. He just every night would come and be like, okay, what do you think you're going to get done tomorrow? And work down he basically just kind of inched his way down the rows here, scoop, very quick. But and it was, that spring was incredibly dry and everyone was freaking out about it, and it was actually great. It started off very dry, and it was great for us as far as being able to move around on the ground and not muck and rut everything up. And so and then the week that we finished, I was stressing because we didn't have irrigation set up and it was so dry. And then it started pouring, and it was one of those like periods where it poured for like, a month straight,
yeah.
and everyone else.
Familiar.
Yeah, it was very much like the summer, and everyone else was cursing, and I was like, yes.
Watered everything.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it made it so we lost maybe 10 plants in the whole move. Nothing really.
Right.
In the big picture. So
This is also the section that we keep for pick your own customers. So we try to contain them on this side of the farm and in these varieties, opening different varieties at different times. One, when they're ready. But the pick your own, the farm stands over there so they can just flow out over there, and then we rope off the rest of the blueberries.
we use chicken. Like
We've used chicken.
netting, like the fencing. Want to electrify it some days. Yeah. But yeah, we find it allows us to be like, okay, this section's open. It's like, you work through early, mid, late, and to kind of open up blocks too, and be like, okay, we're going to get these 5 rows picked for 3 days, and then close them off and kind of work through the field that way. And so it allows us to funnel and direct people pretty well.
For like their safety and keeping them all kind of contained in one area, or for the plants, or like what's your reason for that?
Because
to help clear out the harvest.
Okay.
So if we contain them to a certain area, they're sort of in some sense working for us and doing a thorough harvest before we open the next section. And when we open sections, we always want there to be like a huge flush of fruit. So if people are just like bopping around, it's like we just are trying to curate their experience
so we'll get
as well.
Basically picked, down, and then let it close it down, let it ripen again, and then open it up again. And then, some of it is just to contain people, because like if it doesn't matter with pick your own, if you tell people like, okay, go follow the signs all the way to the field, they're going to go the exact opposite direction. And like, you find people picking all over the farm is the reality of it, and like under bird netting and like, you name it. Like it's
like where else in the world do you climb over fences to get where you need to go? But
Right.
We don't have too much of that, but it's always comical when you find that. So
up here, we have the blueberries, and then we do like pick your own flowers and sunflowers up here. So try to keep all of the pick your own area more or less here. It's not fully the case. I mean, we have some raspberries here that we open up for pick your own, and then we have another section over here, and then a smaller section that's shrinking, I guess, right now, because we just got rid of a couple rows this fall that were getting tired over there. But we're trying to, right now, get it down to kind of 2 sections. And same philosophy of being able to like flip-flop, get an area picked out, let it ripen again, open up the other, and so every couple days. Yeah, people are it's recreation for people. It's not pick your own has changed. It's not the same as it used to be.
Yeah.
And so it's it's a day out, walking around, talking with your friends or family, picking
a few pints.
Yeah, a couple pints. You're not loading up. People aren't loading up the freezer.
Yeah,
and but
which has changed. That's changed. Like in our just since being here, we used to have a lot of people that came out and picked huge containers for their freezer, and we don't see that as much anymore.
Yeah. But having said that, you see people often multiple times now over the season where it is like, oh, it's nice to like come out and it's relaxing to pick berries and it's something to do. And so I don't know if it all adds up or, as far as like the balance of how much people are picking, but it's, it's certainly, there's still the families that come out and are like, okay, we need 120 pounds to get through winter, it's X amount of pounds a week, and and they're they like are the goal people that are driven, but that it's rare now, so it's what it is.
Right.
But what it's meant for us is there's less, I guess, emphasis that's been put on pick your own for us. Because it's more irregular, I would say.
The income stream is more regular.
The reliability of people coming out on, be it to pick large quantities or even just, just weather, and there's a lot of variables with pick your own. So
This year it was too smoky, then it was too hot, and then it was too rainy, so that just all impacts traffic. So having the labor to, pick that harvest up if we're not having the pick your own customers.
But yeah, we have most of our tunnels over here, ponds for irrigation down low, blueberries. This is more kind of a mix of pick your own raspberries and freezer raspberries.
All of our land is tiled, so the ponds catch all the water that's draining through the tiles, and it flows into the pond, and then we irrigate from those.
It gets intercepted.
Yeah.
And brought back.
Did you put that in,
So
or was that?
we did.
Yeah, we did the whole farm before we moved here, knowing that it's your one chance to work on drainage before getting all the plants in the ground, because once they're there, they're there.
Yeah.
So.
And with climate change and the way things were going, we felt like it was needed, and shifting from, very sandy, extremely well-drained soils to we have more of like a stony loam for most of this, but then as we get down, it gets heavier and into, the classic Vergennes clay, and so
Just to aid in that.
Yeah, needing to be able to get on fields sooner and have them dry out in the spring, and and just health of perennial plants too. We don't have that same luxury of giving up on plantings if it's like, oh, it's too wet, it's like disease. We still limp stuff along and try to bring it back, and so anything you can do to help out. This field here, this is one big block here of a variety called Draper, and it's kind of one of the early releases from Michigan State. It's been doing a ton of breeding on blueberries, and it's a variety that we initially put in that we keep on expanding, trying to build up our frozen market, and then as we're doing that, kind of our fresh market keeps on growing, and so we keep on eating into what we plant, and so we're not getting enough into the freezer, it seems like. But this was a variety that we put in because it has a pretty high Brix content, and so as a frozen berry, the sweetness still really comes through well. It has decent size. It can hang for a really long time on the bush as well, which is nice as far as harvest time. And then it has these super concentrated harvest periods. So we go through, a lot of the older varieties kind of trickle on, and so you maybe have fruit for weeks at a time off of one variety, but it's a little bit here, a little bit there. Yeah. Whereas this is just you come out here and it's blue.
Ready now.
Yeah, it's blue, and so you can just clear it off and get a ridiculous amount of fruit in in kind of a harvest period, and then you let it ripen. And this one we often
I think
get
we did 3 picks this year.
What's that?
3 picks.
Yeah,
2 big picks,
too big,
and
then
one
the
sort of a
cleanup
smaller
pick, basically at the end. But this was the first kind of newer variety that had that focus of the concentrated ripening, and also a firmer berry, which is, I have mixed feelings on it all, but its shelf life is incredible on them. Customers like them too. I mean, it's odd, what I wouldn't think that's what people want, but when you hear feedback oh, we really like we don't want the softer fruit, we like the firmer fruit, and and
it crunches.
We want
it's got a crunch.
Yeah, it has a nice crunch. Yeah, and you're
more of a crunch than a pop.
Yeah, you're crunch in a blueberry, interesting. Yeah, but that's
as long as the flavor's there.
It's,
I guess.
it's desirable.
The flavor on this one's good. This is a
if you like these
variety.
they get really nice flavor. First pick I think is it's still developing. By second pick, the flavor's on these, and then we've been eating them frozen recently. That's what we have in the house right now, and they're great. But yeah, so we've kind of, this was the start of shifting away from some of the older varieties that came out and that everybody has, that came out in the 60s, and into kind of this new breeding that's starting to happen, and a lot of people are starting to replace their fields with these varieties. So
yeah, these ones are 7. These bush are 7 years old.
Yeah, this was planted when Wilder was born. Jessica was out here picking rocks, and then we went to the hospital that night. And then there's a break, and then we call it Cena's field. Our daughter was, we planted it right before she was born. So we kind of
Staying active.
Yeah.
Yes, Jess was extremely active to the end.
So has this landscape fabric been down 7 years? You replaced that?
That was down 7 years ago. So, and we find that you can get quite a while as far as down at the Intervale. I mean, I don't know. I mean, we had it there, and so that was 12 years, and we hadn't replaced it. There's places where you're patching it up and restapling, and there's places where you've sucked up some in the mower and all that. At some point, yes, we'll replace. There's irrigation lines underneath here, so we can feed them
We use
that way and water them.
orchard tubing, so
Yeah.
it's thicker, and then it has the emitter every 4 feet. So we do about 3 acres of June bearing strawberries and 1.5 acres of day neutrals. I think we're up
2
to.
acres of 2 point. Thinking in miles here. In row feet, it was like 2.4 miles of day neutrals, and it was like 3.5 miles of Junes.
That's an interesting way to think about it. When you're buying the plastic and the drip tape, that's
you
start
start
thinking
to
about it.
think about it. Yeah.
And then all our day neutrals we have under little low tunnels.
Yeah, or the majority of them are under low tunnels.
I think we're trying to steer that way, or all of them are under low tunnels, because it makes such a difference in terms of production numbers, poundage
Yeah.
coming off the
We had
field.
kind of a split field for a long time, or it wasn't fully split, but it was probably 2/3 undercover under low tunnels, and then a third out. And the fruit quality is completely different. So what was out, we were picking to freeze mainly, and it took a lot more sorting. I mean, some of it would go out to the fresh market, but a lot just went into the freezer. But then some years it was great, and it wasn't that far off from the low tunnels. And then other years, when it's a wet year, a cooler year, whatever it might be, you see significant production differences. So I feel like every year we add a little, or every couple of years we seem to make an investment in more low tunnels and kind of slowly expand that. And I think after this year, whatever we have, we've kind of, I think it's really based more off of our rotation, but I think that will get us to the point where we're trying to reduce the amount of day neutrals that are in the field and just really get down to a number that's
The ones that aren't
undercover.
covered.
Yeah. So they're all so not under low tunnels. So I think we want to get all of our production under low tunnels. So it's like guaranteed at that point.
Is there a reason not to put them under low tunnels? Do they come at a slightly different time?
They come earlier. They're gone, which is nice. Other than the collision of harvest at times can be challenging, where they you plant them annually, so we try to get them in as early as we can. For us, that's usually first week in May we get them in, and then you start to get a trickle of fruit. You pinch flowers for a period, for about 4 to 6 weeks, and then we start to see our first trickle. Like it's usually late July, and then August they start to kick in on. But what happens is there's a period where it's like you're still in thick of blueberries. You have early fall raspberries coming on, and
like
we have 2
trifecta.
collision periods where it's like labor-wise, harvest-wise, it's a challenge.
Yeah. It always works out, but there's
does,
the
but
moment
it's-
like in the house we're like, how are we gonna are we gonna navigate this?
Yeah, there's
Don't
like
talk to you in August.
whenever we start, actually, I always say I'll see you in November. But yeah, we have a collision late June, and then we have that August collision, and then we kind of work through those like week 10-day periods, and then it kind of settles down, and it doesn't settle down, but it's like a known chaos.
For the day neutrals, are those bare root and plastic?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Bare root
And you're
plastic.
running
No,
them.
day neutrals are plugs.
Day neutrals are not plugs. Junes are mainly plugs now. Day neutrals are bare root in plastic, yes. And then we put the low tunnels on. We try to get it on early. I mean, it's like the newer, plastic. It's filtering UV light, and it's you can kind of, a lot of times really leave like the west side down for a period, and it kind of keeps them a little bit. Yeah, it keeps it a little bit cooler. Keeps the wind, so they grow. They just. The fruit that's under the low tunnels comes on earlier, and it's the plants and the fruit's beautiful, that comes off of it. Again, it's like varieties, it's all these like what I would have probably before we grew them considered to be really awful varieties that were like
they crunch.
They do crunch.
Exactly. Like there's nothing like a June strawberry in that, like the juice, like melting in your mouth.
Customers like that.
But it's like it's the berries,
Fall berries,
like the texture of the berries you get in the winter, but that like the Driscolls and whatnot. But the difference is that these ones are picked ripe, and so so they actually have flavor. So and so
texture's familiar, but the flavor.
Yeah, the flavor.
And the shelf life's incredible on them. All of that, it's like they were bred to be shipped around and all of that. For me, the June strawberries are it as far as flavor and texture and like mouthfeel and all that. But customers, it's now about 50-50, I would say. Like some people are like, oh, I really like the
fall ones are way
more.
Better than the June
I
ones.
never thought that would
to
happen.
Have that burst of sweet in September, you can't beat it.
Yeah. And we pick until beginning of November with them. So so it really stretches it out. And so I think the versus the Junes, it's like a 3-week hurrah,
right.
Of like go, and then and it really it's becomes
it's a better
more familiar.
Harvest for the crew too, where it's like, June strawberries are like you're in there every day, like 4 to 6 hours, where day neutrals are just like a little. They like trickle.
It's not an everyday
day.
harvest.
It's not an everyday harvest. It's like every
2 to 3
days.
times a week we harvest them. So
it just seems more manageable for crew. Seems to like that better.
yeah, they love this. Yeah.
I don't know if they love strawberries. In general, they like
but there's
blueberries.
less like nuance with like the Junes we're going through, and we are, we're as we're harvesting, it's like direct to market, like A berries, B berries, that are maybe like seconds that are either cosmetically not perfect or bruised on one side that maybe get frozen or turned into value-added products, and then there's what we call like the chicken berries that are just like they're. The chickens will eat them, but nobody else will.
I feel like by the time we get people trained on June strawberries, strawberry season's over. Like people are like, "Oh, I finally got them." I'm like, well, that's the end.
Come back next year.
Please come back next year.
Yeah. I used to say if you could get through June strawberry season, as far as like harvest crew, the rest of the season's easy, and that where else do you get paid to crawl around as an adult on your, on your hands and knees and gather things, and the hunting and gathering. So our property we have like a weird, most of our properties over here, we have 57 acres, and so 50 plus acres are kind of in this vicinity that we see from up here. And then we have like a flagpole through the woods here. The woods are neighbors' woods, and then it opens up to a different field over here that we we kind of, I guess, negotiated in when we purchased the land that I was trying to get. There's a nice swath of prime soils that is really, in Champlain Valley, like the ridges are like the good soils basically. It like gives us a different road point access. There's an access off of Spear Street here, and so we initially, you have all these visions of what you're going to do with your property, or you're just trying to build it in. But we're like, oh, it could be nice to like, if you ever wanted like a separate venture or something else on the property, you could have an access point there as well.
Access is key.
Yeah, access is key, and it's proven, it's just helpful as far as like getting materials over here and, getting sawdust or whatever, whatever it might be if we need, there's a way. It's not getting an 18-wheeler through this narrow woods path here. So this was our COVID project, I call it. Kind of, it's like our 2020, not going many places, hunkered down project. We were awarded a supply chain grant, a working lands grant, and with that we ended up doing an expansion of blueberries, and then also investing in like packing equipment and a bunch of other efficiencies to kind of take us to that next scale level and kind of bring us into the future a little bit. And here there's there's I think 6,643 plants here, if you want to be exact. But they're all
that are sick.
yes. But they're all
It's a newer
this
varieties.
feels like the future to me right now. I mean, they're all new varieties. Last year was our first real good harvest, like where it started to come on, where you're like, okay, this is what it's going to be like. And plants are still, they're decent for 3 years old or whatever, but they're all designed that they're kind of the same, concentrated ripening periods I was talking about. Yep. Good size, all of really nice size, all kind of firmer, for its shelf life. And then all the varieties also can be mechanically harvested, which we're trying to just, as we're investing in new varieties, thinking about that, really thinking about labor more than anything, and trying to build some sort of security for us in the future if labor is a real challenge, or wet years, or whatever it might be. It just like it
Climate change in general, whether it's too hot or too wet, we are glad to have the ability to mechanically harvest if we need to.
Yeah, so it's really.
Well, and you're building up the frozen markets
Yeah.
and stuff too,
exactly.
so it's less critical.
Yeah, I mean, some of it, the whole frozen was, building it up to be year-round so that we could also employ people year-round, and, income stream and all of those, like, not that, like, oh shit, like, we're running out of money and it's, like, strawberry season hasn't started yet. Like, it's like it allows you to have some cushion going in, every year. But yeah, I mean, some of it is, just like presence in the marketplace through the year and trying to offset, some of the, the fruit that's coming in, that's not necessarily local and organic. So it gives people a local and organic option year round, and that was a big part of the goal. But then, just being able to, as this comes into maturity, hire people that are more in kind of the packing side of things and keep employees around more of the year. That's kind of the goal. It's one of the bigger.
Easier to keep employees if you can have consistent workforce.
Yeah. I mean,
We tend to keep employees maybe 2 years, and then just because we really only employ people June to end of August. There's a few that we keep on a little later and start earlier.
Yeah, there's waves.
People move on.
But the majority, we have like a crew from May to, middle of November. That's like a core crew, and then we have all like the summer harvest crew, extra hands, that are, the college students and everything that are here, June, July, August. They all say where they're going to work till their last day of school, and then everybody wants 2 weeks of vacation before. So it's like I factor in 10th to 15th around of August. Great, if you can. And, once we get into classes, I'll be back, and nobody ever shows up. So, like, even with our production and growth, I would say a lot of it has been concentrated on summer as well, and when there's an available extra labor pool versus spring and fall when people are either back at school or whatever it might be. So at least you at least always have like
some college
kids and things like that around.
Yeah, that's key too.
Yeah.
So I would say we've backed off a little bit on like our fall production and spring work, and it's really trying to just meet people where they are a little bit. So it feels, or meet the labor force where and that obviously that might change in the future, and like, I've seen farming come in and out of, kind of like vogueness over time, where it's when I first started, you had incredible applicant pool, and you could really pick people that had experience, and then it got to the point, I think, when it was like, great, they're applying, like, you're hired, and then and then it's like it's kind of come back now where there's people have experience, but then it's the shift of how people want to work right now, and flex, a lot of more part-timers and things like that. So it's, you're trying to run a business and run a farm, and you're trying to build that in as much as you can, which is not always easy. But yeah, so this field has, just circling back, I guess, has 5 different varieties in it. So kind of, blocks from down low towards the road over here is early, and then kind of a, mid-ish, a good concentration of mid, and then mid-late, and then over here, these cargos here, this variety's called Cargo, is a later season variety. And I kind of envision that most of our wholesale market will shift this direction and be coming out of this field. And, the other field is truly going to become pick your own and kind of freezer cleanup fields, But yeah, you can kind of see, you get obviously this time of year, just the red glow of the blueberries looking out. And we did some experimenting just because of the amount of pruning that we have out here. We did some kind of late fall pruning here, starting to shape these plants. These are probably, they're 3.5, 4 feet, I would say, probably now, getting to that point. I guess this is the shift from Cargo to Valor here is the next variety. But trying to shape a little bit for more of just like the upright growth, where we're taking out a lot of like the low buds down here, and then trying to also keep the crowns a little bit more narrow. And with a lot of the new varieties, they're bred for this like narrow crown as well, and that's related to the harvester, really. It has like these catch pans that flip around, and so the narrow crown just means there's less fruit loss, potentially, here. So, but yeah, this field is like this was exciting this year. This field coming on, and just the quality of the fruit and the flavor on the fruit is the first real year where I was like got a better sense of like a familiarity of the flavors too, and it was.
Are these 5 new varieties, or some of what you've been?
3 new ones, and then we put some more of the Draper, which we had over there. We walked past. There's probably, I forget if it was like 1,600 Drapers or so, and then there's Duke, which is an early variety that's an older variety. It's still pretty widely grown. It's productive, and it's early, and there hasn't been a replacement that's come out for it. There's some flaws with it, but it's the best option for early fruit right now, I would say. It's not my favorite flavor-wise. It gets better actually, like with a little bit of like cold storage. The sugars mature.
Interesting.
And there's some varieties that are that way.
It flowers late, but fruits early, so
That's
it
very
in
attractive.
theory misses any of those cold snaps that we have
And like,
in early spring.
Yeah, and like it's grown, widely out, west and northwest. I mean, it's because of their more mild winters and long spring and fall. It's incredibly productive out there. Per acre, it's like they're getting like high teens, per pounds, per acre, which is incredible. So that does not happen in the Northeast.
But yeah, I think it was fun to get to taste them all this year, because you never know what they're going to taste like until they like start fruiting. You're like, oh, is this going to be a good one? Is this going to be a bad one?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah,
we do have a
perennials are
few
a
that
gamble. Yeah,
not that great, but we have them, so we try to shift those to like the frozen, where they get a little sweeter in the freezer. So.
But yeah, that's the blueberries have this longevity, and it's they take 5+ years to really come into production, and then they're productive for 30 years or so, 30, 40 years. And so you're always gambling a little bit on like, okay, we're going to have this variety for, quite a while, for my life, so I hope I like it.
Yeah.
Obviously you can rip stuff out, but
yeah, but you don't want
to.
You don't want
Yes,
to.
ideally you don't want to. So, but yeah, this is like gotten us excited about even like future plantings and all of that.
Another 10 of these fields.
Where,
Oh, gee.
yeah, I mean, there's another
there's another 5 acres over there that we're hoping to acquire.
At some point to merge into the farm.
Yeah.
It's kind of been
to do another
offered,
5 acre.
it's kind of come back and forth at some.
Yeah.
So, but with the thought that, especially we just have like the system set up now for blueberries here, where you could really just efficiently have a large block here.
We were close last year. We started doing field work and
that was 2 years ago.
2 years cover cropping. Like, okay, we're gonna get the plants in, and then it was off the table. Yeah, we would lease it for strawberries, but there's no water, there's no irrigation out here, and strawberries really gotta have that set up. So we're just gonna patiently wait.
Come on, doggies.
What's your standardized spacing now?
3 feet between
10
bushes and 10 feet between in-row or between rows.
Yeah, and that's becoming the norm other places. I mean, like even down in New Jersey, people are doing like 2.5 feet. They're 2.5 feet between bushes, which is really tight. Changes your pruning strategies, but they're really hedging them almost. Out in the Northwest, it's like 3 foot, 10 foot on center, 3 foot between bushes. And it's, they're finding like it doesn't impact kind of, per acre, really like increased fertilizer applications or even like, water-wise, things like that. So, I think I said last week, it was like, the difference between, with 4 foot spacing, it's, 1,089 plants per acre versus like, 1,450 something. I forget what it is, 54 or some 59.
Yeah. So you're getting more yield per acre.
And it's it's your fixed asset of your land, and so you're maximizing kind of the return. And berries are a tricky one in that they're kind of a high investment and high return, but they're also they're incredibly laborious and like have, there's a lot of harvest time that goes into them and care that goes into them. So everything you can do to maximize that return is...
That's why you see like this baby row planted here, because we're like, oh, we don't need the road to be that wide. Let's stick one more row.
I'm like, that's another...
one more row in.
That's another 160 plants or something, at 10 pounds a bush, you're like, okay. You start to, I've been kind of looking at little patches all over the farm on just where can we squeeze this in or that.
Hoop houses.
Yeah, hoop houses are mainly raspberries.
Oh yeah, I do want to do that.
3 summer raspberries and 2 fall. And then the first 2 are blueberries.
Yeah, we've been forcing some blueberries although in high quantities as well. We don't heat many of our houses. It's all manipulating the sides to generate soil warmth and heat, and kind of in a hyper-local market, trying to just be a couple weeks ahead. And it's also what you can balance with the condition of harvest that we were talking about. These are summer raspberries. I guess they do a light, fall crop, but pretty late. These are novas all here.
We put them in, I think, really to sort of trial the mechanical harvester on raspberries, to see if we could do them for like, beer or jam market. We trialed the mechanical harvester on them this year for the first time, but it was too wet.
Yeah, it was. I mean, just the
leaves.
It was it was the
such
summer.
a wet
It was
year.
like we were getting so much chafe and leaves and matter.
I would think raspberries would be too
like out west, they're like breeding for raspberries for mechanical harvesting, but more for like the jam and that kind of market. And we have a decent amount
Popsicles,
of like
sorbet.
brewery counts, yeah, exactly, and like other value-added products. And we're like, oh, that's a really efficient way to get it off. And then I found there's a guy in New Hampshire that, but he ended up getting a fancy harvester through a grant there, and he's been doing. He's been harvesting his raspberries that way for like bakeries and things like that. And so I asked him about varieties, kind of reached out to him and Cornell and some other places about varieties that would work well. And for the guy in New Hampshire, this was the one he said was the best for him right now. And so we tried it out. The jury's out still. We ended up the last 2 years, I guess, opening this up, kind of like splitting in half and like flip-flopping for pick your own, and then we were picking it as well for just like the freezer market. The fruit quality between the high tunnels and field is like night and day, and so we've gotten really used to the high tunnel quality, and like you're like we're being a wholesale market too, like the shelf life is incredible coming out of the high tunnels. And so, and then we have, we've clamshells and your name's on it, and you're like, okay, like, what do you want your like farm name on, on this berry or this one, and like, it becomes really clear.
But it's, for pick your own, it's not an ideal setup because people don't like really long rows. There's no way to get between the rows, and then it's hard to get people to the bottom of the
we funnel
the
like
bottom of the hill.
We'll change it so people enter this way, and then we'll change the path and have people enter through the bottom, and so it forces them to kind of like forces them to come up a little bit. Why
everything's
exactly,
on 200
we have
feet.
a lot on 200 feet.
except the Spear Street field, that's 230.
Yeah, that was the way that it broke. It's different. The south is 260 something, and the north is 3. And this whole, like what we see here, these blueberries here are all on 200-foot blocks, kind of like row length here. I think it started our strawberries were on that, and so it's just like how you're like how you're thinking about things.
Lanes end up.
Yeah, exactly. And then it's like you're like how you think about like, okay, we need X amount of row feet of irrigation or plastic, or it's just like I know that math.
It's also good, like a distance for crew when they're harvesting, where you can like see the end goal.
Yes.
Whereas our strawberries rows down there, they're like, I don't know how many feet.
Yeah, those
600 feet, where it's
there's a break in the middle. But
but you don't really see that. You're like, oh my gosh, I have a huge.
It's a mental thing.
It's a mental. It's a mental thing.
I mean, when you like anything you read about like establishing, especially like pick your own, is like factoring in row length and for both customers and crew. So.
So are you using a mower right up to the plastic, or different?
Yeah. Yep. So this is all it's a Blu-ray sheep fescue that's here, and it's a low mow grass, basically a clumping fescue, and so it doesn't Blu-ray sheep fescue. There's other, actually that one we weren't able to get that this year, but it was a different different sheep fescue that we were able to get this year. I can't remember the name of it.
Well, I mean, you have to go with it.
Yes, exactly. Exactly. So
it pairs nicely, right?
But we basically can like, we go through like we clean up before pick your own and things like that, of course. And
but you don't really have to.
but
we don't have
it's
to.
Not like last year our mower was broken
For the whole year.
And we were like,
so we did one spring row mow, and then we didn't mow again until I think the fall.
It was ridiculous.
And it was, I mean, it wasn't that bad. It wasn't that bad.
It was. I think I went through it with like the flail mower or the brush hogger.
Yeah. But if we had normal grass,
mowing weekly.
Yeah, no, and exactly, and that was when we moved. Exactly. I mean, when we moved, I felt like I was at the Intervale. We didn't have this, and I felt like I was just mowing all the time, and just in some of it you're trying to like, it is like weed control and airflow and all these things, and then it's like customer experience, and we kind of shifted that way, and then we kind of have last year we ended up finding we've always had like side discharge mowers, and we got a rear discharge mower, which is also nice as far as like not blowing stuff onto plants and fruit and all of that. And yeah, so yeah, we're figuring it out. But it's, you know, it's like cuts back on mowing time and all of that, which is significant, and fuel usage, and, you know, obviously impact. Mowing has its place. Like, sometimes it's a great way to get this overview of your field and your farm, and like where, you're kind of just zoning at, like, you know, like the plants, and so you're like, kind of from there, you're like, oh, this plant's like, you know, it's nutrient wise needs a little help, or it's like you notice diseases, or, you know, whatever it might be, or just even like where you are in the you know, the fruiting period, and how far away from harvest you are. So yeah, it has its place, but, you know, you don't want to do it every day.
Yeah, right.
So this is, we haven't pruned yet in here, so it's pretty, you know, it feels pretty jungly right now. This is a variety all of Duke in here, all on 3-foot spacing, and super productive coming out of here. You know, this is single wall poly with roll-up sides. We leave it open most of the winter, and then usually middle of March end up dropping sides and start manipulating, you know, kind of temperature in here a little bit, and try to build up some heat in here. And so with that, you know, we get fruit often around like the 15th of June, you know, 15th or so of June. And so it allows you for a period to have blueberries, strawberries, and then, you know, and raspberries really the end of June, where we have early season raspberries that are coming out of the tunnels as well. So it's this great, like, you know, the trifecta of berries that, you know, for like people love it at farmers market, but then even at, you know, in our wholesale market and things like that, it's, you know, it's just like this add-on, like you're coming there already with, you know, strawberries, and it's like, wait, blueberries as well, we have raspberries, and so it just, you know, builds your, you know, kind of your sales and market presence. We initially put in, I guess there are 2 houses here.
We put in another variety, Chanticleer, in that house, and it just didn't do well in the tunnels. Just super tall, not much.
Flowered heavily, and then barely fruited.
Yeah.
So, and you know, I talked to the nursery, and they're like, "Oh yeah, we're dropping that one. We found the same thing." So, you know, but it was we put it in because it was 4 or 5 days for the Dukes. So we were like, oh, you know, obviously, like, early is good in a local market. And the flavor is nice on it, but it just wasn't productive enough. So we sold those off this year, and they're great for home garden and things like that. But like the space inside the tunnels is so valuable, and, you know, you're trying to maximize your yields in the tunnels, and so we just wanted to shift to something that would actually pay for
money.
itself. This is the house that we ripped stuff out. We actually threw some. We dug up some old strawberries very late last year and put them in here.
See what happens.
Not sure what's going to happen, but they're in there. I'll tell you in May. Yeah. And then we get into kind of a raspberry section here. These are all Nova. Actually, this house hasn't been pruned yet. We'll come through. Actually, probably starting tomorrow. Is the plan, but come through and we top everything first, just like you can see a little bit better what you're working with. But we top it to try to get more laterals on the canes, and then also so there's like a picking, like a harvest box here, so that people aren't, you know, having to bend and twist. It's like they can just walk down, and this is where the fruit is right here.
That's
and
the
so
benefit of raspberries, if you're not bent over.
Yeah. This is where people start to love, you know, the blueberries and raspberries, the upright fruit.
Yeah, right.
And then all the trellising we have in here is vineyard trellising, which has worked well.
Yeah, and that
for
we use
us.
like a
It's like a monofilament
wire that doesn't rub at all and seems to last forever. And,
Interesting.
We used to just use twine, and just not strong enough.
Greenhouses, there's like we didn't have enough, or we have some of it some of it right now, and it doesn't last. I mean, this stuff lasts 20 years or so. These have been in since 2013. People say productive life is 10 to 15 years. I feel like they're getting...
We're trying to figure out their transition plan,
they're getting
how
tired,
not to lose.
About a decade, the easy.
Yeah. They're starting to get tired a little bit, and there's still a lot of fruit that comes off. It's still like a wall of fruit. It's amazing to see.
Yeah.
But we're starting to see that, and then even things that you put in a decade ago, certain varieties are like, I don't know if I would plant that again. And there's either new varieties or just where your market is. And we're starting to think about that. Right. Trying to figure out how to phase
out with not
phase plants. So it's like it's like one house at a time, and we'd like to, cover crop it and do like some serious mustards and things like that in here to try to just break up disease cycles and. You're trying to figure out that, or I don't really want to go like we thought, like oak for a year. Could you grow like in pots and then put them in? But it's just like, it's so much labor to do all that. And, it's not, and, then they become so root bound also. And, in the pots that it's, the people who are growing in pots are just keeping them in pots, and that's not, we're soil based. Right. That's really our focus. So, our thought is maybe we'd put up another tunnel and start rotating through, and then, kind of replanting, phasing some out, and kind of go that route. But yeah, it's, that's where it's tricky with perennials and tunnels, and unless you plant something completely different in here, right. But disease-wise, you'd want to break the cycle if you could. These are all Arnois oval techs. 200-foot long, 30-foot wide. We like them. I mean, they're you don't have to think about them. They're like bomber as far as like winter goes. This is the last 2 years. They changed, and I've told Arnois this, but like we have the plastic, and then we use this webbing on the outside it's because of the amount of winds that we have here. It's pretty intense at times. And the webbing just like lashes, bow to bow.
It really ties it down, kind of like they do with cat tunnels.
Yeah, it's kind of
this tension on it.
It keeps tension, and it's been great. They changed something, either the manufacturer of the webbing or the UV stabilization or something on the webbing, where it's not the newer stuff is not lasting, and so we're actually using. We used to have a bunch of haygrove tunnels, and we're now starting to use, like you see the orange cord there, the whole haygrove. Cord that's still UV stabilized, but it just seems to last. And so we the one tunnel down there that we lost in whenever that last windstorm was, the cord from Arnois had all deteriorated after 3 years or whatever, 2 years I think it started to come off, whereas we had stuff that lasted like 8+ years before that. So so we're trying to just make sure that they're stabilized. What else down here? Well, there's more raspberries. So I guess these are summer, Killarney, and then Prelude, and then Amara, and then another house of Prelude for raspberries for us.
And Prelude gives us a double crop, so we get a summer crop, and then we get a fall crop off of them as well.
Yeah, we double crop those, and Nova out of this house you get you get a double too. It's not as great. The Preludes will come on again in late August, September, and go until frost. These it's like late September, beginning October, so it's a shorter double crop, and so it's not. We don't factor it in.
It's like
really.
A family harvest.
Yeah. I mean, we pick them. We'll pick them if kids will eat them up until Thanksgiving. Yeah.
Our daughter will eat them. Our son maybe will eat 5 or 6.
She's got a problem. It's really. Thank God she lives on a berry farm. Yeah. And then there's a gap here where we had a triple bay haygrove. We used to have actually haygroves up here, and then we had a triple bay there. We lost it in a snowstorm a couple of years ago, and I had a love-hate relationship with the house. Honestly, it was a lot of square footage for really cheap, which is great. But they're flimsy. They obviously can't handle any snow load. It was, we had just put on new plastic on it, and we lost the whole thing. So it was kind of a bummer that way. But we had all of our fall raspberries in there for years, and then we were using perimeter insect netting for spotted wing on it, and so we were able to really lock it down well, and so it was a great house in that sense. And it was they're cheap, it's a lot of square footage for cheap, and it's basically we weren't trying to manipulate really temperatures with those houses. They're not as tight. It was really like a rain shield more than anything, and that would stretch us another month into the fall. Okay. So we've put in some, I guess down low, kind of closer to those other houses. We put in, I guess last spring, we put in some new fall raspberries there, and we had phased out some other ones. I think there's one more variety that will probably, it's starting to get kind of tired, that we'll probably phase it out. But we're kind of leaving the space, not exactly sure. I mean, just grew a little bit of flowers there, some, some squash and some other things last year, and kind of, but we might need it there's one smaller field of our strawberries, so we might need some of it for strawberry rotation, just to make sure we have, adequate.
We have a little bit of a land crunch, so we're trying to.
We're at that. When we moved here, we thought we'd have, plenty of land, and now we're like, shit, we're so tight we don't have, our rotation's getting really tight for strawberries, and we're trying to really be deliberate about it, and that's, we've shifted more for June's, more to plugs, just because it allows us to cover crop more of, kind of the fields a little bit longer, so we're planting them in end of, August, so we can still get it's almost like another year of cover cropping on a field, and so, but we're on a three-year rotation, and I'd like it to be a 4-year, really. But we don't have the land.
Yeah,
unless we
tied it up and
I kind of went. And that's like the perennials,
Yeah.
The work is done.
Yeah, right.
So not that there's not work related to it. So
I ordered 5,000 more blueberries. I'm like, what do you mean? We don't have anywhere to put them.
I want to. I didn't do it. This was all also 2020 fall planting. There's Nelson and Calypso and Last Call for a late variety. Nelson we have a bunch of already. The Calypso and Last Call, we had our first, kind of harvest off of them last year, and excited by flavor and, a lot of other things. As far as the just modern attributes of, kind of the breeding that's happening. We've tied a lot of land. We're kind of probably going to phase out. These are like Elliots here, these are plants that were just planted right before Hurricane Irene. They were floating. They were, floating in pots. Some of them were in pots, and they just have never done well recovered here. So we're testing out. Elliott's a later season variety, and a lot of people grow it because it is so late. It fruits well into September, but it's a little more acidic flavor-wise. It
doesn't always ripen well for us.
Yeah, you get
compared to the newer late season varieties.
And it's just the flavor is so much better on the newer ones. I mean, they've really, you want to eat it.
These are the ones that customers complain about.
Yeah.
They're tart.
These are tart. Yeah.
You have a really nice property, how it's, like you said, enough of a hill where it's draining, but it doesn't feel like you're hiking up the hill.
Yeah, it's sloped. It just has a slope, and it's enough airflow, water flow, so it's great that way. This is kind of what we have is summer, this becomes more like event space where we have, there's kids music and yoga, and there's different workshops, and we've do some dinners and a little bit of everything in here. And then winter it gets packed with everything possible. Yeah. And it's actually not as bad this year. I have a lot of stuff outside still, I'll be honest.
That's right.
But there's a lot in here.
This is Cadillac of a
we got this is one of their demos that we got. it was end of season, and it was like, it's cheaper than it was. We were due for a new mulch layer. Ours was had been welded, kept on breaking, just was like.
But this has the road track, which for us being on a hill is really helpful. The old one, I would sit on the back and I'd like push one side down with like a garden stake, being on the hill. So it's
these like Rainflow does these like end of season sales on everything where it's like half off, and I was like, okay, and we were like looking, and so neighbor bought our old one, and it was. We did not look back. It's really nice. You can adjust the crown really easily. You can just crank here, so you can get like a crown if you want. You can, simply go, 4-inch bed height, 8-inch bed height, with minor adjustments. Obviously like the road track side of things. But yeah, forms a really nice bed. It really does. It's been great, with strawberries, really, more than anything. Just like the amount of plastic that we lay. I guess veggie farms lay a lot of plastic too, but it's one of those. The difference of having a well-laid bed is huge as far as like the production and the ease and the headache of the job. Also, it's like it can be
a lot less shoveling with this.
Yeah, exactly. A lot less like covering edges, things like that. It's just really there's so many little micro adjustments on this that you can really get it dialed in, which is nice. So our crew thanks us for this one, and that's all these like so many investments are always like crew happiness, like speed, doing the job better, but also like what's going to make everyone happier and make the job go quicker as well. What else do we have in here? We have this is a plastic wrapper, cone spreader. This is a Jacto sprayer, and we use it somewhat for strawberries. It's a boom, so you can get out pretty far, but I'd like to I'm looking for a better strawberry sprayer right now. There's some down in Pennsylvania right now that are some used ones down there that I might make a trip down for. Transplanter. This was my dad's old tractor here in the corner, so yeah.
It does work.
It works every couple of years when we get it going, and then it sits there and oozes the other times. Newer used mower, rear discharge, which is nice, and we do. We've used kind of like we had like traditional like tractor riding mowers or whatever, and then we went with zero turn for a little bit, but the problem with the zero turn is that they're so wide often that the actual mower was hitting the bushes and knocking fruit off all the time, and so we've kind of shifted to these front mounted mowers, and the decks, these are 6-foot decks basically, and so the tractor's narrow. Yep. You can really edge right underneath the plant there, and the way we prune, you're not really knocking off fruit, maybe a little bit here and there, but like it's minimal basically, so it allows you to really get right along like on the edge of our landscape fabric, and just kind of a clean line there. So that's that. This is these are the Harvey 200 EC pick, I think was their old name. This is what Rob Meadows has from the Netherlands. We found a guy down in Georgia that had a bunch of them and was selling them off. And he has a giant, actually organic, he has 300 acres of organic blueberries down there. He got them. His H2A crew wouldn't use them because they're paid by piecemeal, and they couldn't really figure out how to, it's basically 4 people on this operating it, and so they couldn't figure out how to divvy, and it was creating tension, and it was like basically, he was like, they won't use them, so they're sitting here.
Wow.
And so,
you would think even if they took it all and divided it by the 4 of them or whatever, still be
it's ahead.
It's still ahead. So this is basically the same, it's like you can pull, I don't know how I have it set up right now, but you can
these push
there
in.
you go. You can push these so these brushes basically go around the bush like that. And then you're on the
People
side
stand here.
here, kind of shaking, getting everything into there.
I think we used it once this year.
Our
Our crew was trying to figure it out.
Yeah.
I don't know what they were doing when
they
they're
were,
like trying to
Our crew had an
reconfigure.
interesting reaction to it too. So I'm curious. Yeah, and some of it was like challenge of like our trays don't fit exactly in here. So like these raspberry trays actually do, and so. But then also the pruning, you recognize with all these things, it's it's one thing to like find the equipment and be like, we're going to use this, but you also have to start to integrate all of your other practices into as far as your planting into it. And so, and we've started to do that more and more with the mechanical harvester. So it's that narrower crown, so you can really get in and out. So. But yeah, jury's still out on this. Rob told me it took him about 3 years to figure it out, and then like now he really likes it, but he was questioning it too, and we didn't give ourselves the time, honestly.
It was a crazy year.
Yeah, and it was so wet. It was just it was that year of like you have your plan A, plan B, plan C always, but it seemed like just every day it was like, which plan is it today? Because of the rain and just constant pivoting that way. So. And then, this is like for pick your own toys. If kids are happy, we've the sandbox, like toys out. Yeah. If kids are happy, parents are happy type of thing.
Some people come just to play in the sandbox and get a popsicle.
Yeah, popsicle and
They don't pick berries, just to play.
But we try to set it up so there's like, seating around for people and, umbrella, shade. If you have shade and toys and drinks for the parents, not something like that, it's like, oh, you gotta get the espresso machine or something like that, really make people happy. So this is our barn, kitchen, value-added kitchen. Yeah. In here we have, popsicle machine, sorbet machine, stove, kind of. It's mainly value-added production. We do packing in here. It's kind of the only insulated space right now in our barn. And so for frozen berries, it's here. It's like we're getting to the point of frozen berries where we need to like find like there's hoppers where, you can fill bags really quickly. We do it all with scoops and everything. This is all like a glycol bath right here for the popsicle molds. So it's like 7 molds across here.
And then it freezes them in about 30 minutes.
Yeah, it goes down to negative 20
it's
Celsius.
It's like 150 popsicles every 30 minutes. And then
it's more than that. Yeah, it's in an hour, it's 365 pops an hour or something like that. So, and then we do sorbet out of here.
Neat.
So, and then it's just like, all the kitchen gear and the 3-bay and
jam.
All of that. I guess we do a strawberry for farmers market. We have all the pops and sorbet and the berries, of course, and then we do a strawberry lemonade as well. So that we do in like little mason jars. This is kind of our production space, I guess, for all of that. Yeah. We haven't done jam for a while. The goal is to make jam this year.
And maybe get some popsicles going in the winter.
Yeah.
Taking them out of the molds and stuff.
Yeah, trying to get
ahead.
Trying to just get some stuff done this winter before things get totally
going
crazy again.
I know.
Yeah.
And in the winter,
it's really fast. Yeah, and then it's like, and then you're like, oh God, we have a ton of pruning to do. I need to really. That's where I should be. And it's like it's bare right now. I should be out pruning versus like right? I can do this when it's snowing or rainy or or it's like raw out. I can hide in the kitchen and do that work. So that's pretty much it.
It's nice. It's not ideal space for making popsicles and sorbet because it gets super. Because it's on the south side of the barn, intentionally, with nice windows.
Yeah, I'd like to turn it into like office some days. Yeah. I can like move the kitchen, move the kitchen to the basement. So, we set up our farm stand. We have it in early season and late season that it's set up as self-serve, where there's a square and cash box, and then during the pick your own season, from late June through August, it's staffed fully. It's kind of goes back and forth where it's like pick your own. You need, people need assistance. But we have like this is like popsicle and sorbet freezer, and then there's another freezer of like kind of food and people that we like to eat and people we know that we're trying to support their products from like different meats to fish to
cheeses,
and then we have kind of fresh berry, this like fresh berry cooler, and then we bring in some greens from like Footprint, and there's like some things like that, tomatoes from different people. We grow some, but we not much.
And then that's all like all the veg gets laid out, and then dry goods.
Yeah, a lot of
get laid out.
Things that will not expire are out here. That it's kind of fill, but it's it's good for like a neighborhood market, and then we have like a lot of like pick your own. I don't want to say like impulse buys, but like there's like things to like snack on while you're here. Pick your own, from drinks to whatever little things to keep everyone happy. Is kind of how we have handled that. So, and now it's now it's just jammed with picnic tables and hand wash sinks and things like that. Whatever, old signs. So
I think we keep it open. I think like end of May to
we went into I don't know 10th of November. It was like until we stopped harvesting strawberries. So let's see. So this part of the barn has our it obviously has equipment in it right now. Freezers, fridges, walk-ins down here. This is in the summer, gets set up where we're, kind of more like packing and storing and packing materials are all down here. This is a freezer, cold plate cart for transporting popsicles and sorbet to farmers market here. So this we plug in the night before, and then it, in theory, keeps things cold through farmers market. We still load up a bunch of ice packs in there because I get nervous about making it through farmers market and losing product, basically. So, and then there's another tractor, another sprayer in here. And then this part of the barn, we put this temporary wall here in the winter to kind of create another, because our water goes through here, and also to create a semi-warm area that's not heated, but it stays fairly warm. So we put this temporary wall up for winter. It's packed, but this is where our packing equipment is back here. So this area is cleared out in the summertime. It's again jammed with stuff right now. But we have here. This is a BEI, which is a company that was out of Michigan forever and was kind of the initial leader in all like the blueberry packing equipment. And they went out of business a little while ago. Somehow they imploded. It was I forget. There was what exactly happened. But so this is basically a conveyor that moves its way up and then goes under here where there's a fan that's blowing up, and so the berries kind of popcorn from there, and it helps to remove kind of the stems, leaves, all of that, and that gets shot out into the left into that little kind of hopper that direction, and then from there we have it set up where they are dropped onto this, which is hidden under all this junk, but this is a like a sorting table, basically, also another conveyor. So it's set up that the fruit drops onto here and then rolls off this way, and then there's a channel here where we drop kind of the soft fruit, and then we have like trays down here that collect all the soft fruit. So people are we have just like maybe two people on each side, and they're just looking, you're just like staring at blue and kind of just in like total zone and like, bruised, soft, and pulling out anything funky from there. And then from there, it goes, I guess we have some other things that we haven't really been using. Like when we got all the equipment, there's a sizer here. If you want to be like, where you have only big fruit or if you're trying to like, some people separate smaller fruit out for frozen and only sell larger fruit for fresh. We kind of, the same goes with like strawberries. We've tried to like buck the trend that like all fruit has to be like big and like some of the small fruit is, to me, is like the most flavorful, really. But so we don't use the sizer really much. But now, I mean, now they make like optical sorters and like, it's like, I'm like, oh my God, it's like, it takes soft fruit sorters, green berries, you name it. Like, it's like, there's pretty incredible sorters, but they're also like a small investment, very large investment. And then here, tucked away, is our clamshell filler. Okay. And this works, it has what's called a denester up here, where, are there any clamshells left on there? No.
The stacks of clamshells get put up there. They come down this line. All the fruit gets dumped in here. It fills them.
So,
and then it sends them down, shuts the clamshell.
Yeah, this basically, get the clamshells get opened up, funnel through, filled, closed, and then, get shot out here onto a table where we just pack them directly into shipping boxes and either into the fridge or right into the van. And this is like, this whole investment has been a game changer with our scale, and also with using the mechanical harvester. But this alone, like, this is probably my new favorite piece of equipment on the farm, really. And
it saves us a lot of time.
So much time. It saves, it's 90
pints per minute.
So it's just
like one person to do that.
You just like hear it going, and you're like, look at that. Yeah, it's really, it's amazing that way.
Yeah, it goes fast.
Yeah, pretty much. People are just dumping, trays into here. And
I think the crew likes to see how fast they can get it going, because everyone's like running and like
there's like music going, and like it's fun. I mean, it's great that way. So, but yeah, this is a guy, McKibben. He's out of Michigan. He has a machine shop there that does a lot of stuff for blueberries. But McKibben harvester. Or he does McKibben harvesters. He did these, and this one's obviously older and been around, but it's what we could afford at the time, and it works for us. And I think at some point maybe we'll scale up in a different way. But this buys us a lot of time, and it's
multiplier for sure.
So the only trouble we had this year is the berries. Some of the newer varieties were too big for the hopper, so it would like backlog the hopper.
I know we had someone's job was like tapping the side of the hopper, and it was it's like, no.
I was like, that's an interesting problem to have. Yeah.
So and, so that's really allowed us to, handle volumes of fruit that we weren't able to handle before, and we get backlogged, and our fridge would be filled, or we couldn't get fruit out quick enough, or even just the packing time just was taking. I wanted people in the field, and it would take like a whole afternoon to pack a harvest, and this we can pack. We can pack 1,000 pints in it's like 20 minutes or something like that. So it's really freed up time, and also the quality, because we're going through and instead of like people either harvesting directly into pints or just harvesting into buckets and kind of like quickly filling pints, we're looking at the fruit another time. So it's getting the stems out, it's getting the leaves out, we're picking out the soft fruit, and so and then packing it. So at the end of the day, it's just a higher quality product. And we've always been very product quality focused, and that's it's something that's kind of distinguished us in the marketplace, and we've stuck with that. And this has kind of helped, simplify and expedite it, and just helped us maintain that quality. So. Let's see. I guess if you want to peek at this while we're outside, and then So this harvester is a pull behind blueberry harvester, Corvan. It's called Corvan 930, and Oxbow bought Corvan kind of for the technology a little while ago. So it's now Oxbow makes an Oxbow 930. Pretty much exact same harvester, just looks nicer. Different paint, yellow versus blue paint. Basically, it's toe behind here, and then you can offset it so it straddles the rows. And then there's all these dowels here that you can adjust as well. based off of kind of the bush and brush height and all of that. And
Well, the
so,
whole unit moves.
yeah, the
up
whole
and-
the whole unit. Yeah, you can
and
adjust
down.
up and down and left and right, and you can really get it dialed in. So which is nice because we do have this slope on our field, so we can kind of get it so that it's set to our. Yeah, exactly. Everything gets leveled on it exactly, and then how it works is it goes from there. Straddling the row, knocks the fruit off. It goes onto these conveyors here, and then these conveyors go back to the rear of the harvester, go through another kind of blower there where it knocks a lot of like the the leaves off and kind of just like the debris matter that might come off with the harvest dowels, and then in the back from there.
The crew stand. It only is 3 people.
Yeah,
so
it's really
driver
and 2 people on
two
each
people.
side. So we have harvest trays that are back here, and they kind of just collect, they basically collect the berries that are coming off of here, and then they get
You're just
as they're filled, they
doing
just
your
get stacked
stacks.
here, and sometimes end of the row we'll take off a bunch of full trays and pile them up, and then collect them with a truck and bring them back, or collect them at the end. And then this is where all kind of the
leaves and the stems get blown.
everything comes out there. What else about this? As far as these are the catch plates here. Everything's kind of frozen up a little bit.
Yeah.
But
That's what goes
they're
around
designed that
the
they
base
kind
of the
of
bush.
work around the bush and then close back up, so it opens, closes there to really minimize the fruit loss. And then you can adjust the angle as well on them. But when we were talking about how we're pruning to try to have a narrow crown and also minimize the lower branches and things like that, a lot of it is thinking about both this harvester and the EC harvester and crew happiness of just like nobody really wants to be like down here harvesting. You're harvesting all day, it's tough work, and so you want to have it up, the fruit upright in general. But this is a lot of our kind of pruning techniques are thinking about both of those pieces of machinery right now. It's been a mental game changer. I don't know if that makes sense.
It has saved a lot of labor in the, after we've done like the harvest for the freezer, we go through and we try to get every berry off the bush, sort of like it's a way to manage pest and disease. Any fruit that's left on there is a vector for disease. So, we can take this down, it's 10 minutes. To take this down a row versus like 60 man hours of like tedious work that nobody wants to do.
Yeah, cleanup harvests are miserable. And a big conventional farm would just go out and spray kind of a fungicide, but we don't want to be doing that, and it allows us to again maximize kind of the returns where it's a cleanup, we freeze it, and it's either value-added products or or frozen berries, and also just time saver as far as crew. It's we factored it in for a long time and managed it some years better than others, I would say, but you're going to get the crop off with this.
And we got this the year of COVID, so it really helped us. We didn't have pick your own open, so it allowed us to get all of our fruit off the bushes with the same number of crew.
Were you planning to invest in that?
No, it was sort of.
Anyways? Or was that a
Well,
pivot
I think
strategy?
we were in Florida and we're like, okay, we're going to make these big investments. Like Eric Rosendale always went for these like big investments, and we're going to go for it. And then, this is before COVID. It's like the year.
This is the year to take take a leap of faith, basically.
Okay, financially maybe it
borrow
wasn't
some
the
money,
best year.
we'll get the farm to the next scale, all these things, and then, COVID hit, and that was it was a blessing.
It all worked
curse.
out.
It worked out, but it was like we were counting on the investments with also our normal income stream and all of that, and eliminating pick your own, and we didn't. We had a newborn in the house, so we didn't have the farms. Did we have the farm stand?
We opened the farm stand that year.
Now. Okay.
Selfishly, it's like, oh, we want like food security. Like, I don't want to be going anywhere for food.
But it was, so anyway, but we ended up, this came from down in New Jersey, and it was, it's been around the block. But fully functional for our scale and
Right,
for
the
what we
mileage
do.
you're putting on is
Yeah,
likely
it's-
a lot less than,
Yeah, it's
than where
not
it came from.
It's not 100 acres of blueberries, per farm type of thing, and running from farm to farm. So
And then there was a super dry year where we used it, all the fruit was starting to drop.
yeah.
So we were able to, the whole 13 acres, like all the fruit needed to be harvested at once. So we were able to lean on this. We didn't have those fresh sales, but we didn't lose that fruit.
Yeah.
And last year we used it, same thing, the fruit was getting soft in some of the varieties, so we were able to
because of the amount of
utilize
moisture
this.
last year, and then decreased pick your own traffic because of the amount of rain and things like that. I mean, we were so grateful last year that we weren't just a pick your own farm, because it rained pretty much straight through blueberry season.
Yeah.
And so
yeah,
but we
it's
didn't, we managed to still harvest our crop as a result.
it's opened up a lot of wow, this is what we can do. We could plant, we can expand our plantings knowing that we have, this
Yeah,
as
I remember the first time using it, I was like, oh, I see the light. This is you really, you're like,
Turn
this,
the page.
Yeah.
Opportunity,
yeah, and there,
soaks it up.
there are varieties now that are being bred just for this type of harvester, where it's, for the freezer market, but then you can play with the RPMs on it, and so people are still doing fresh harvest with them, and they don't last as long in the marketplace, but they're doing fresh harvest, and so it really changed how I was starting
Thinking
to think
about
about
the
where
farm.
the the long term as far as the farm and labor and all these things, where it took a huge weight off of me, as far as coordinating a crew. And I've always said, if I can figure out how to harvest this, I know I can find a home for it. Is what I say. I can find either the fresh market or frozen market or whatever it might be. I can sell the product, but the bottleneck has always been
harvesting
every
and
farm
packing.
wants more people out there, but what you can afford and all of that, as far as labor and this. It really cuts our harvest costs down, drastically. So, and then there's other just random pieces of equipment that I around. Broken frame trucks, mulch lifters, discs, cultivators, chisels, whatever, We're not big, we don't till much. We rely on we have a, subsoiler, chisel, and then try to, use more the field cultivator, just as far as soil health. We had an older tiller that didn't work for very well, or was just at the end of its life, and recently got a newer one where it is, it has its place as far as laying beds and things like that. You're like, oh, that's nice and fluffy and really flips well, and so we lean on it at times. But the lucky thing is, for our farm, there's very little soil disturbance because of the perennials. So we have kind of the initial disturbance of planting and establishment, but then it really has enabled our soil to heal and kind of, to have that kind of I think it's allowed us to really work on the soil health more so, I think, than, that continual tillage and continually opening up soils.
Yep.
Winter's a nice quiet time though. On the, it's we go from having a lot of people around and both public and even crew, on the farm, and it's great. And there's a lot of energy around it, but it's also really nice just to settle into winter and
Rest, recharge.
yeah, I can go out and walk the dogs, and I'm not going to run into people. I can be in my own head. And
And that was the Farmer's Share. I hope you enjoyed this episode with Adam and Jess of Adam's Berry Farm. They're on Facebook and Instagram, as well as their website, adamsberryfarm.com. The Farmer's Share is supported by a grant offered by the USDA Specialty Crop Block Program from the Vermont Agency of Agriculture, Food, and Markets. This funding helps to cover some of my time and travel in order to produce these podcasts for the next 2.5 years. The USDA Agricultural Marketing Service supports projects that address the needs of U.S. specialty crop growers and strengthens local and regional food systems. I have no doubt that this podcast will meet those needs and help educate growers to support the industry. This show also is supported by the Ag Engineering program of the University of Vermont Extension. If you enjoy this show and want to help support its programming, you can make a one-time or reoccurring donation on our website by visiting thefarmershare.com/support. We also receive funding from the Vermont Vegetable and Berry Growers Association. The VVBGA is a nonprofit organization funded in 1976 to promote the economic, environmental, and social sustainability of vegetable and berry farming in Vermont. Their membership includes over 400 farms across Vermont and beyond, as well as about 50 businesses and organizations that provide products and services of all types to their members. Benefits to members include access to the VVBGA listserv to buy, sell plants and equipment, share farming information, and tap the vast experience of our growers. Access the community accreditation for produce safety, also known as CAPS. This program is designed for growers, by growers, to help you easily meet market and regulatory food safety expectations. You can access the VVBGA's soil health platform, where you can organize all the soil tests and create and store your soil amendment plans and records. Access to webinars for growers in the VVBGA annual meeting, an email subscription to the Vermont Vegetable and Berry newsletter, camaraderie, enhanced communication, and fellowship among commercial growers. Memberships are on a per farm, per calendar year basis, and annual dues this year are $80. These funds pay for the organization's operating costs and support educational programs and research projects. These funds also support projects that address grower needs around ag engineering, high tunnel production, pest management, pollinators, produce safety, and soil health. Become a member today to be a part of and further support the veg and berry industry. You can visit thefarmershare.com to listen to previous interviews or see photos, videos, or links discussed from the conversation. If you don't want to miss the next episode, enter your email address on our website and you'll get a note in your inbox when the next one comes out. The Farmer's Share has a YouTube channel with videos from several of the farm visits. We're also on Instagram, and that's where you can be reminded about the latest episode or see photos from the visit. Lastly, if you're enjoying the show, I'd love it if you could write a review. In Apple Podcasts, just click on the show, scroll down to the bottom, and there you can leave 5 stars and a comment to help encourage new listeners to tune in. I'd also encourage you to share this episode with other grower friends or crew who you think would be inspiring for them. Thanks for listening.